85% of welfare and food stamp moochers are white, live in southern red states.
There are no organizations dedicated to the welfare of rural whites.
How many people have noticed that just about every democratic policy that white conservatives despise, they benefit most from?
The thing I kept seeing was that welfare was created for white people.
Guys, you guys heard? Elected Republicans are fighting with the Trump administration on the background because some of the Trump executive orders are hurting Republican.
The United States issued 500,000 land grants before it passed the Homestead Act, which means that
Hi guys, my name is Esther Daniel and you're welcome back to the channel. Now let's talk about something that is both shocking and honestly a little funny. There is a video going around where a poor white Americans are upset, like genuinely upset that black people are not struggling on welfare the way they expected. Think about that for a second. Instead of focusing on fixing their own situation, they are mad that black folks are surviving and making it. Like, how is that even your business?
So I posted about white folks on food stamps, and one thing I kept seeing was that welfare was created for white people. I knew that it was created during the New Deal, so I did some more research because I didn't really know the whole story, and I thank you guys for responding and helping me learn stuff. So during the Great Depression is when we saw the beginning of things like Social Security, unemployment insurance. But here's the kicker. When Franklin Roosevelt built those programs, he had to make deals with Southern Democrats in Congress, the same folks who were big fans of Jim Crow, to get the support of these racist white Southern politicians. The programs were designed to exclude farm workers, domestic workers, jobs held overwhelmingly by Black, Latino, and Indigenous people. So right from the start, Black and brown families were pushed out of benefits so that white people could get them. Then we move forward to the 1960s, and there's this war on poverty. It finally opened up welfare programs more broadly, and that's when food stamps became permanent. Well, permanent, we don't know what Trump's going to do to them, but they lasted a long time. And guess what? The minute more Black and brown families started accessing this help, the politics shifted. Welfare got a new image and a new target. By the 1980s and 90s, with Ronald Reagan and his gang, they pushed the welfare queen myth. That's a racist dog whistle meant to turn public opinion against safety nets by blaming Black women for poverty that white policies created. That's the truth, you guys. So yes, welfare was built for white people, and when others finally got in the door, they tried to burn the house down. If you want to blame the right people, you got to get curious.
Finally, you get to see the true America. The stipulation has always been that black people are lazy, that black people are on welfare. Well, guess what? A lot of poor white people in the red states are now crying that they're not getting the EBT money from the EBT cards. Why? Because they are on welfare. They have 7 and 8 kids. Now the truth is coming out since Trump has slashed funding for the EBT and the SNAP programs. You see how many white people now are on welfare. So all this mythical stuff about black people being on welfare, oh, it's the blacks, it's the blacks, it's the blacks. Now you're seeing the real America, that it's not only black people on welfare, that there are a lot of white people on welfare also. There are a lot of white people, a lot of poor people living in those red states, and those red states that voted for Trump are now getting hit hard.
Hi, this is Attorney Davis responding to your comment. And as I mentioned before in the original video, yes, statistically speaking, white people are the biggest beneficiary of welfare programs. And I just want to drop some knowledge on you. Not on you specifically, but on the original comment, the person that posted it. All right, so a little bit about me is that prior to becoming an attorney, my trade actually is economics. I'm an economist by trade and education-wise. In fact, I was going to work on Wall Street prior to becoming an attorney, but I wound up becoming an attorney. Now that that's out the way, let's get to the raw statistics. All right, so white people are the biggest beneficiaries of welfare. White people make up about just about a little bit over 40% of welfare, being recipients of welfare. Another 25.7% is made up by African Americans. Approximately 10.3 are Hispanic. 2.
Government assistance was made for white people. The fact that the programs were made in like 1935, like in the 1930s, says it all right there, given the fact that black people were not even considered people under the law at that time. But I've really been doing some more research and reading, and I read an article and they were talking about how like up until like the 60s or 70s, black people really could not qualify for government assistance. And that is absolutely disheartening, being that now it hasn't even been 100 years later that black people are now the face of all racial stereotypes regarding government assistance in Section 8. Meanwhile, these same programs were never even made for us. Meanwhile, black people had to jump through hoops to get qualified. Meanwhile, people talk about black fathers not being in the home, and these same government institutions were not wanting the men to be there. Like, what the fuck?
Today, this SNAP benefits, or rather this week, the SNAP benefits cut is going into effect. Approximately 2.4 million families will either receive no benefits or less benefits, and less benefits being about $72 to about $252 per month is what they're going to receive less than what they did before. And this is due to the big beautiful bill and the SNAP benefit cuts that were inside of that policy. So now we're starting to see news outlets project how it's going to impact the grocery store industry. As we already discussed, I think about last week, we talked about how Walmart sees itself as a grocery store that sells other things, and also that the Reagan policy rolling back the restrictions on the grocery store industry is the reason why Walmart exists. Essentially, Reagan rolled back the stipulation that says that suppliers cannot give better deals or cheaper deals to larger grocery stores. And as a result, this cutback to SNAP benefits will directly impact those smaller neighborhood grocery stores or independent grocery stores. And some of them exist in order to resolve the problem of food deserts, right? There are independent grocery stores that pop up all over the place, especially in food deserts where there are a lot of people that do not have easy access to get good produce, good foods, and things like that. Not only that, some of these places where there is only one grocery store, or there is not enough grocery stores to fully sustain the population within a certain mile radius, they also sell bad produce. They sell produce that is not healthy, produce that is rotting, produce that isn't edible. And so because of these cuts, they're saying that the little man is going to be gravely impacted. When they took a look at the breakdown, Walmart it receives 24% of their sales is due to SNAP. Okay, 24%. Next in line is Kroger's. Next in line after that is Costco. These are the stores that might be impacted by the SNAP decrease, but they won't drastically be impacted. And the reason why is because they're able to absorb the cost, right? Essentially what ends up happening is that when you have a budget cut, it means that these families will have less money to spend on food. So that could possibly lead to a decrease in foot traffic, a decrease in the amount of people that are going to come to your store to be able to buy groceries. These larger stores are able to make better deals, get their supplies for cheaper, and therefore sell these same items at a lower cost in order to make the consumer's dollar go further. This is something that smaller grocery stores are not able to do. And because they're not able to do it, It will not only impact the grocery store's foot traffic, it also impacts the employees of those grocery stores, which tends to be people within that community, like within the community that is a food desert. So it impacts employment within these lower income communities as well, or these rural communities as well. They begin to cut hours, which then begins to cut income, which then begins to cut people's ability to pay for their livelihood. And this is the impact of this big, beautiful bill. And this is also, as we said last week, a reason as to why Walmart can't really be boycotted. Now, also, Congress is back, okay? Congress was just on a month break, but Congress has a lot of work that they have to do, mostly being that they need to pass a bill to fund the government and stop it from being able to shut down. It's been since, I believe, the 1980s since Congress has actually passed all of their resolutions in order for these continued votes to not preclude government shutdown from happening. And since then, there's been 14 government shutdowns, okay? With the longest one being 35 days, and that happened during the last Trump presidency, which no one is surprised there. Now, the issue here is the fact that you have Schumer, who just in March caved to the desires of the president in order to extend and ensure no government shutdown. And the reason that he gave was that if the government shuts down, it would give the executive more power because everybody, like nobody's working, right? So if the government shuts down, then the executive is actually able to make a lot more unilateral decisions. And that's why he didn't do that. We find ourselves in the same place now. My issue isn't the logic behind it. It's the fact that we continue to not find a solution to this deadlock that Democrats find themselves in. It is my hope and desire that someone come up with a better idea, because essentially they have no bargaining chips. So they really don't have a say-so in this, okay? It seems like they're between a rock and a hard place. This becomes a whole lot easier if you vote correctly during midterm elections. You already know where I'm going with this. You already know, because the Republicans aren't putting a stop to anything, and that's the reality. Now, as far as the issues regarding SNAP benefits, Congress is able to roll back some of the stuff that happens. The issue is that, well, the Republicans don't want to roll it back. Now, you also have certain Republicans that are upset about what the president just got from saying he was going to do, which is reallocate foreign aid. Okay. And they're all upset and they're all yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs, but we all know that they're going to comply, right? So the best way to be able to fix the situation that we're in is midterm elections. Take a look at how your representatives voted. If they're not voting in your best interest, do what's best for you and move them out the way.
Guys, you guys heard, elected Republicans are fighting with the Trump administration on the background because some of the Trump executive orders are hurting Republicans. And to be quite frankly, they realize some of the Trump executive orders are hurting white folks. You know this saying that you tell yourself a lie long enough and you start believing in it? That's basically what's going on with the Republican Party now. For decades now, the Republican Party has been telling folks that the United States government is solely there for the betterment of black folks and other minorities. And since Brown v. Board of Education's 1954 eradicate segregation but equal, the civil rights of 1964, redlining. So ever since those things, the Republican Party has been telling their voters that, listen, the government is there for the betterment of black folks and minorities, so we need less government, right? Ronald Reagan was really good with that. So less government. The government is not the solutions. Government is the problem. That's what you heard. But the fact of the matter is, most social programs, the overwhelming of the social government programs, are used by white folks. And which makes sense because the U.S. population is about 65-68% white. Therefore, a larger group of whites are using those social programs. But because they've been telling themselves this lie for so long, they believe into it, and they put executive orders in place to reduce the size of the U.S. government. Lo and behold, who are getting hurt are those voters. Right now, there's the fight. There's an infighting in the Republican Party to say, hey, we don't want you to hurt those folks. Right? And the crazy thing is, the U.S. government has always been there, has always been in place for the betterment of white America. Right? Redlining. Technically, a red line to where the FHA would HUD, where HUD would finance loan, where HUD wouldn't finance loan, the black neighborhood, any loans, and that HUD said they wouldn't, they would not finance, and the white neighborhood they would finance it. That's what redlining is. Right, the GI Bill. 98% of folks who participated in the GI Bill were white folks. Only 2% of black and minority actually took participate in the GI Bill, because the GI Bill, the money was disseminated to local government, and local government with their racist Jim Crow laws in place, no black veterans could actually participate. So again, the Republican Party has been telling themselves this lie for 4 or 5 decades now, and they believe it. And it's just now they realize, oh shoot, these people are not the larger benefactor of government programs. Our voters are. And those
if you're white and you had anyone in your family serve in the military in the past 400 or so years, you got welfare. The United States issued 500,000 land grants before it passed the Homestead Act, which means that
85% of welfare and food stamp moochers are white, live in southern red states, and vote for Republicans. Go figure. And those same Republicans are trying to take that away from you. And you voted for it. Can't blame the Democrats. This is what you voted for.
See, this is the problem. A lot of people have been told their whole lives that welfare, food stamps, and government help are only for black people. That stereotype has been pushed for decades, but the numbers don't lie. Most welfare recipients in America are actually white. That's the truth they don't want to face. So when they look around and see black families not crying, not begging, but actually holding it together and striving it, breaking that false picture in their head, it makes them uncomfortable, because in their mind, black people are supposed to be below them. That's where the anger really comes from. What's crazy is, if you are both struggling, shouldn't the fight be against the system that keeps the poor people poor, against the politicians that cut resources? But no, instead of teaming up, some folks would rather waste the energy being jealous that black people are making ends meet. That jealousy is eating them alive. This is bigger than just welfare. It's about how racism blinds people. Poor white Americans could join hands with poor black Americans and actually demand better pay, housing, and health care. Instead, they are pointing fingers, making TikTok, and crying about who is suffering more. Meanwhile, the rich keep winning. At the end of the day, survival isn't a competition. If one group is finding a way to smile through hard times, that should inspire you, not anger. But the truth is, Black Americans have always been forced to survive and rebuild from nothing. That strength didn't come from handouts, it came from history, resilience, and community. Maybe instead of hating, some people should start learning. Anyway, guys, these are just my opinion, and I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video to help the channel out. See you in the next one. Bye.